Hello everybody, it's Sylvie, welcome back. I hope you're doing good. So today's video is going to be a really fun one. This is the mid-year tarot check-in. This was a tag that originated on BookTube, and as I've mentioned before, I was a booktuber in another life, so this just feels really fun to me. And Spirited Stardust, I will link her original video below, sort of turned this into a tarot tag. We are well over halfway through July, so I'm a little bit late to the party, but this is really fun and I wanted to do it. So I am going to get straight into this, I think. So the first prompt is favourite deck that you've used so far in 2023, and this probably will come as no surprise. This is the Terra Volatile. I got this in January with the reprint that they did, and it was honestly love at first shuffle, love at first read, and my god, this scarf is huge. And I've been in love with it since. We are upside down. This is just such a special deck. If you saw any of my favourite cards from each suit videos that I did, you will have seen this deck cropped up a lot. This just speaks my language. It's like they shoved extra tarot into this deck. And honestly, that's kind of literally, because this deck comes with an extra suit, which I don't have in here at the moment. I'm waiting for the guidebook before I start playing with that, and this came with a whole bunch of additional cards, so there is literally extra tarot in this tarot. But there's just something about the images that I find so, they just connect with me. This is one I've spoken about before, this 10 of Wands. Are we in focus? I'm not sure if we are. This 10 of Wands, I definitely spoke about this in my favourite Wands cards video, but the way that they've counted out the wands on the card really just speaks to me and what it feels like to be sort of carrying this burden, either physically or mentally or spiritually, when you're weighed down by something and you're so aware of each part of it, and you're so aware of whenever anything shifts. Like, this is just the perfect representation of the 10 of Wands for me. And yeah, this is just my favourite deck that I've used so far this year. This is my favourite deck that I've acquired this year. Like I said, I've got the guidebook I've pre-ordered. I think that's releasing and hopefully shipping in September. And it looks like it's going to be gorgeous. It's this big hardcover illustrated guidebook with, this is so good as well. And I think Benabel wrote an introduction or a foreword to it. And once I've got that, I'm going to start digging into the Vessels additional suit that came with this deck, which is like an alchemical thing. I adore this Queen of Swords. Like, she's got the King of Swords head. I'm seeing it as a King of Swords anyway. That looks definitely like the same figure. And our shield here and our bloody sword. Like, oh, it's just such a fantastic deck. Like, aesthetically, this is right, like, bang on for me as well. This kind of moody, historical, kind of creepy with all the skulls and things. And then, like, here, this is very klimt. Like, it's got like, I'm not a big art history person. I don't really know my stuff, but it's got all those, like, historical artistic references. I really like some of the, like, you'll have seen them throughout. Like, I've got dream instead of the star. We've got the universe instead of the world, and like, I really like Last Judgment instead of just Judgment. This is a more Marseille style lovers, but there's definitely like RWS ones in there. I've got the Temptation instead of the Devil. Like, I just adore this deck so much. Our Princess of Swords is also looking pretty bloody here. We love to see it. I'm really going to try not to flip through this entire deck. I just think it's so gorgeous. You've now seen the whole Court of Swords, so I think we're going to leave that there. So the second prompt is a new deck that came into your collection this year, and let's be honest, I have had a lot of new decks come into my collection this year. I do like to collect a tarot deck or two, but I picked this one because I have had a lot of new decks. This is one I didn't really anticipate buying. And ooh, let's just faff around for a minute. Okay, so this is one I didn't really anticipate buying. I didn't think it was going to be my thing. I've spoken before about my kind of journey with MJ Culline's art style. So as much as I've fallen in love with her decks, I initially wasn't really a fan of her art style. It just wasn't sort of my preferred kind of artistic style, but I really fell in love with the Guardian of the Night Tarot, and then this was my second MJ Cullinan deck, and I had no intention of buying it, and then I saw a walkthrough on, I think it was Mystic Man's channel, and this deck is, look, it's just so pretty. The flowers, we've got butterflies throughout, it's gorgeous. This deck also made me fall in love with like animal decks more, and so yeah, this is one I kind of wanted to highlight as a new deck that came into my collection this year. This was also a new release, the mass market version by Hay House, which this is, was also a new release this year, so I feel like it is an appropriate one to highlight for this tag. But isn't it just so beautiful? As with MJ's other decks that I've got, although, okay, no, that's not quite true. As with the Guardian of the Night Tarot, this is kind of a very firm but gentle deck. It does not sugarcoat things. It does not shy away from the harshness of life that is reflected in the tarot, but it is gentle with it. Especially the guidebook. I really adore her guidebooks. I think the way that she articulates the tarot meanings is really, really special. And yeah, I also have the Crow Tarot and the Urban Crow Oracle, and they, I think, do have a slightly different slant than the Guardian of the Night and this one, which are a bit gentler. And oh shit, it's just a beautiful deck. It's just such a pretty deck. So yeah, that was a new deck in my collection this year. So the next prompt is most anticipated deck that was released this year. And this is a really funny one because it would have been the Tarot of the Witch's Garden, which was a Llewellyn release, which I have been anticipating since autumn last year, I think. I'd pre-ordered it. I was so excited for it. I think the art style is just beautiful. I can't remember the name of the artist off the top of my head, but I think her art is absolutely stunning. And yet, I ended up cancelling my pre-order. I don't know what it was, but I was sort of excitedly watching people's unboxings and walkthroughs because it released earlier in the US than it did here in the UK. I watched a few walkthroughs and I thought this deck is absolutely stunning, but I just think it's not one that I would click with. I think the way that the people are illustrated, it's just a bit too peoply for me. I don't like decks where the people look too realistic. And although it was this quite like fantastical witchy world, so it wasn't reminiscent of real life in that sense, the people looked too realistic, which is not a criticism of the art. It's just how I read tarot. It was too peoply. There were too many people looking at me, and I just thought I don't think I'm going to click with this. And obviously it's a mass market deck. It's a new release, so there's plenty of time down the line to get myself a copy if I change my mind. But that was my most anticipated release, and I ended up sort of cancelling my pre-order last minute. I think it came out at the beginning of July or the end of June in the UK. I'm not sure. Release dates always change up on me, so I'm not sure. But anyway, that was my most anticipated release, but I ended up not purchasing it, and I'm not upset about that decision because it's mass market. I can always get myself a copy if I want one. So the next question is your biggest disappointment, and ooh, I've spoken about this before. So if you saw my Oracle video where I sort of talked about my troubles with connecting with Oracle decks, I spoke about this one, which I had recently, at the point of filming, I had recently bought this, and oh, I hated this deck. Okay, no, hate is a very strong word, but I really didn't like it. I was really disappointed in it. I think I've got this in order, so I'm going to keep it as such. So yeah, I did rant about this, but basically this is, like, not these first few cards, but quite a lot of these cards are full of what I personally consider, what I feel to be the worst kind of like new agey woo. in a nutshell, that involves sort of lifting things from other cultures for the aesthetic and to make it seem sort of mystical and exotic. And I just, oh, it's just icky. It gives me the ick. And you know, at best it's ignorant, but at worst it's like racism, let's be realistic. So I didn't love this. I feel like it also had some like starseedy stuff in there, which is, again, don't like that, not a fan of that. So yeah, I was really disappointed because, and the reason I was disappointed was because from the preview pictures online, I thought this was based on like the first few cards. I was like, okay, like it's a little bit, you know, it's a little bit love and light, but it's like sacred space, cultivate your inner beauty. It's got crystals, it's got plants, more fun, jokes and laughter. I can get on board with all of that. My body is a safe space, transmuting, breaking down barriers, realizations. Based on these 3 cards, I should have loved this deck. It's pretty, it is a little bit sort of, you know, love and light, but you know, that's fine. There's a time and place for that. But then once I actually got the deck and I started looking through it, it's like, what is a cellular upgrade? You know, and there's something somewhere about like, oh, there's something somewhere about Atlantis. There was something like Egyptian thrown in for no reason except to seem sort of mystical and magical. And it also had a bit of a heavy focus on the feminine, which is fine, but the feminine seemed very tied to, you know, womb magic and all this shit, which I'm not on board with. So yeah, I had no idea. I was not expecting that from this deck. I thought it was going to be sort of cute, affirmation-y type stuff. And then it was really not. It was just all this kind of thing that I cannot get on board with. And I was really disappointed. And I was disappointed in myself for not having looked at walkthroughs and for spending my money on a deck that does not align with what I want in my collection. And it doesn't even fit in the box properly. More disappointments. So yeah, I still have this. I haven't got around to selling it because I'm just so annoyed that I have it. But hey, these things happen. Okay, next question. Where are we up to? Question 5, biggest surprise. And I think that's the Midnight Magic. This was another new release this year. And I think also Spirited Stardust, the originator of this tag, also had this as her most surprising deck. So that's quite cool. And actually, I think I've seen a lot of people express this sort of opinion about this deck, that it's surprisingly good. Like, I didn't expect it to be bad, but I was really pleasantly surprised with sort of how good a reader it is and how good the guidebook is. So yeah, I thought this was going to be pretty, which it very much is. Like, from the artwork, I knew I would love the art style. It's got this gorgeous, like, nighttime, hazy, glowy, soft, like, magical vibe about it. It's really lovely. But, like, despite the imagery just being mushrooms, there's actually quite a lot of detail in a lot of the cards that really link quite well to the Rider-Waite-Smith meanings. Like Page of Pentacles, and then we've got this little ladybird sort of pushing a, I don't know what that is, bubble, something. And like, oh, I love this, that zombie ant fungus as the Knight of Swords. I just think that is so perfect, and I could never have thought of it myself. Truth be told, I don't have a lot of mushroom knowledge. It's something I want to kind of read into more. I think mushrooms are super cool. I think they're very cool just as a living organism on this earth, like biologically. I just think they're really cool. The way they refuse to be categorized, the way they don't fit into the kind of system of organization for life on this planet that we've come up with. I love that. I feel like there's a good queer allegory there if you want to make it. I just think they're super cool. I think they're really cool. Let's not go on a rant about that. But anyway, I don't have a lot of mushroom knowledge. And one of the things I really like about this deck is the guidebook. So there's a different mushroom for each card. Most of them I don't know about. Like, how beautiful is this Queen of Swords? And you know how I feel about the Queen of Swords. But so the guidebook, let me dig her out. So we've got a little image of the card. We've got the mushrooms have been chosen, and then here we have sort of some rationale for why that mushroom was chosen for this particular card, and then we've got upright and reversed meanings. And the sort of mushroom fact adds like a nice bit of nuance to the card, I think, to the meaning of the card. And then the upright and the reverse meanings, they follow the Rider-Waite-Smith, and you saw they were only like little snippets and keywords in a sentence or two, but they were just explained really well. And I was just so pleased with this deck. I really enjoy using it. Like I said, I love the imagery. I think this is going to work, honestly, all year round. I think the, I mentioned this in my summer decks video that I recently put up. I think it was my last video. The kind of black background and bright colours, and like bright colours at nighttime, always feels very summery to me. But then I think this is also going to work really well in autumn, because that's when I see the most mushrooms out and about. And then the darkness also works really well for winter. So I think this is going to be a good one to pull out sort of all year round when I want a deck that reads really nicely, doesn't look too traditional. So like if I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed, this is quite a nice deck to come to, because it's got no people, it's got nobody looking at me, and it's not stuffed full of symbolism, but there are like nice little hints to the Rider-Waite-Smith that are there if you look for them. Like this looks like the Eight of Cups. Even though it looks nothing like the Eight of Cups, it looks like the Eight of Cups, doesn't it? Anyways, it's just a beautiful deck, and I was really pleasantly surprised with it. Okay, so the next prompt is Deck Crush. And I think for this, I'm going to go with a deck that I don't own, but I very much want, and I'm really crushing on. So that is the Mars Power Tarot deck. The aesthetic in this deck is just everything to me. It's bright, it's colourful, it's chaotic, it's psychedelic, it's weird, and I love a weird deck. I really want to do that. Oh, what is the tag? Like top 5 weird and quirky decks. But I know I'll just pine over the Mars Power that I don't own. But anyway, they've also done, I think they've done a Moon Power and a Star Power, and I really like all of them, but the Mars Power is the one I want. It's got this really vibrant, kind of aggressive, like hot red colour scheme throughout. It's so beautiful. It's also my favourite kind of deck with people in it, because it's quite stylized, it's a bit abstract, like I said, it's quite weird, so it doesn't look too realistic, and I can pretty safely bet that I won't find the faces or the facial expressions too distracting. But unfortunately, I don't own this yet, because it is not a cheap deck, and I can only find it shipping from the US with extremely high shipping costs, and I just can't justify pulling the trigger on it at this time. So it is my deck crush, but it's going to stay an unrequited crush for a little bit longer. So the next prompt is a deck that made you cry. And honestly, I don't know if any deck has made me cry, but I do know I've had some really powerful readings with the Terra Volatile. Where is the deck inside this ridiculous scarf? There we are. I know I've had some really powerful readings with this deck. Like I say, it's my favourite deck that I've used so far this year. It just reads, it just speaks my language, and I have had some readings that have really kind of hit me, and I've had to sit there for a minute, because they've been so spot on to things that I didn't even consider. Like often I'll do a reading about a thing and to kind of sort my feelings out, so I kind of know what I think, I kind of know what I need to do, I kind of know the things to be considered, and then sometimes a deck completely blindsides me with factors I didn't expect but are so accurate. And I've definitely had some readings like that with this deck. I've had some really nice like synchronicities with it. And like the imagery on this deck is not stuff I see in everyday life, but I've had things pop up in the deck that are somehow synchronous. Is that the word? I'm not sure. But like with things that are happening that I am seeing and dealing with in my life, which is it's just really special. I love this as well for the Chariot. I've got Determination. I just can't get enough of this deck. Okay. The next prompt is a deck that made you happy, and we have here the adorable Squid Cake Marseille. This is the mass market edition that came out this year, and I've spoken about this before. This deck is just so cute. Look at it. It's so dinky and tiny. Like it's so mini. It's got these cute rounded edges. The artwork on the backs is gorgeous. It's pink. It's got pink edges. and it's just so cute. I just love flipping through this deck. I think the artwork is, even if I'm not reading, this is one of those decks I just sort of grab to have a flip through because the art is so cute to look at. It's such a fun, like, tactile deck to hold and to flick through. I love how Justice has got, I see this as a coffee and a tea. It's got a sense of humour, it's a bit quirky. And also, this is a deck that's made me happy because this, I bought basically because it was cheap and it was cute. And I thought, well, maybe, well, the Two of Cups are the gross. This is one of my favourite Two of Cups ever. But I bought this thinking, well, maybe like one day I'll get into Marseille. But I enjoyed this so much. I think the guidebook for this deck is also so fantastic that this prompted me to actually start studying the Marseille system. And I love to study, I love to learn things. And so that also has made me really happy that this has prompted that kind of study that I'm really enjoying. So yes, that is the Squid Cake, a deck that has made me extremely happy since I got it. Like, we've got the Knight of Coins on a frog. How could this not make you happy? The penultimate prompt is the most beautiful deck this year so far, and this was very difficult because I have a lot of beautiful decks, but I think I've got to go with the Tarot of Aphrodite, which was a latecomer to the first half of the year. I think this arrived in June, and this is my most beautiful deck because, in case you can't tell, based on my love of the Squid Cake, I love pink. I've said this before, pink is my favourite colour. I also have a bit of a thing for Venus and Aphrodite, and like, we've got, it's just beautiful. We've got the pink, we've got the gorgeous rose gold gilded edges, and it's all historical art. Oh dear, I'm nudging the camera, apologies. It's all historical artwork, making up the cards, which I love. I love a historical classical art deck. It's also just so well thought out and so well put together. And it's just beautiful. It's also been a beautiful reader. I've really enjoyed reading with this. But it's just a stunning deck, and I've really fallen in love with it. And, you know, it's full of gorgeous women. Like, what's to complain about? This Lovers is so beautiful, as you would expect from the Aphrodite Tarot. We've got a couple of renamed cards in here. The Empress is renamed Aphrodite. The Emperor is Aries. And I think there was a couple others, but isn't that such a beautiful moon? Like, I just adore this deck. And I've definitely spoken about this and raved about it in a previous video. So, oh yeah, the Seer. So this is the High Priestess. It has become the Seer. And the Priestesses are the Knights. And then we've got the Fates instead of the Wheel of Fortune. And a few decks use the Fates as the Wheel of Fortune. And I really enjoy that. I think that's a really nice choice. So the final question is, what deck do you want by the end of the year, or deck that you're still waiting on? And I thought I would go with the decks I backed on Kickstarter for this question. So I backed the Terra Arcane, the Earth deck, and also with that I added a copy of the Ocean deck, the Ocean Arcane, which, again, like, animal decks, me? Who is she? But I'm deeply looking forward to those. Those were originally planned to ship in September. Who knows when they'll actually get to me, but that's exciting because my birthday is at the end of September, so I've got like the Terra Arcane, the Ocean Arcane. I've got the guidebook for the Terra Volatile is also supposed to be out in September, so lots of good things coming my way for my birthday. I've also backed the Lillifer 2nd edition, which I'm also really looking forward to, as well as the Woven Path Tarot, which I'm still waiting on. That was originally due to sort of be shipped in May, but there were various delays, and I think they're now looking at fulfillment for that in September as well, actually. So September's going to be real exciting. And then I have also pre-ordered the Raven's Dream Tarot by MJ Cullinane, which is due to ship at the very end of July, so I should get that sometime in August. So I have several extremely exciting decks coming my way. Several of those are animal decks, so I was a liar whenever I said that I don't like animal decks. But yes. I've got a couple more pre-orders. I've got the Förhäxa Tarot, the mass market edition, also by MJ Cullinane, that's also pre-ordered. And I think there's a couple more that I've either pre-ordered or am sort of keeping an eye on. So lots of exciting decks coming my way by the end of the year. When I say it, list it out like that, it's certainly a lot, and I definitely need to slow down on my deck collecting. But hey, decks make me happy. I'm not gonna get too upset at myself for finding things that make me happy. So that is everything. That is the end of this tag video. I'm also rapidly running out of time before my camera is gonna cut out on me. So I'm gonna leave it here. This isn't really working, is it? I was trying to be cute and aesthetic, but I'm not sure it succeeded. Anyways, I'm going to leave that here. Thank you so much for watching and for spending some time with me. I hope that you've enjoyed. Let me know if you've done this tag, because I think it's really fun. Like I say, I was a booktuber in another life, so I had to do this, and I really enjoyed it. So thank you to Spirited Stardust for making this a tarot tag. Give me a like if you liked it, and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.